He is forcing their hand. After 2 preseason games, one player in particular seems to be forcing his way onto the opening night lineup of the New York Rangers. But not only that, we also have another player who is looking to steal a job as the third line center of the New York Rangers. We're going to break down exactly who these 2 players are and why both of them making the team out of camp will completely change the outlook of the team this season and the dynamic of the team as Mike Sullivan and company continue to figure out what the lines will look like when the season opens. We're going to break it all down in this episode and some other updates on this episode of Rangers Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 77% of you who watch these videos on the regular are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on with your New York Rangers, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this is the place to be for all your daily New York Rangers content. But let's jump right into it. Exciting times, because there are some players who are playing really well, and there's some players that aren't playing very well. And we're going to get to those in this episode as well, because a couple guys are exposing themselves in camp, but there's a couple guys that I am really excited about. And I have to say, I'm going to come out and say it, Gabe Perreault, he is forcing his way onto this team and the opening night lineup for the New York Rangers. It is just a fact of the matter at this point. He has 2 goals in 2 games in the preseason so far. I think his one in New Jersey is actually more impressive. Last night was great too. He is beating NHL caliber goalies clean at this point. Both of them nice goals. And he was hunting pucks in New Jersey. He was first on the forecheck. He's not the biggest guy, that we know, right? But he was beating guys who are bigger than him along the boards to remain with the puck, keep possession of the puck, making plays, driving the net, driving plays, and then finishing plays. And yesterday, the same thing. Will Cooley gives him a beautiful pass, waiting for everyone to get back on side and complete a line change. And he comes in, just rifles it past the goaltender. He looks really good in his play. It just looks like he wants it, and we know that. He's put on weight in the offseason. This is a guy who wants to make this team. This is a direct quote from head coach Mike Sullivan on Gabe Perreault. And I mean, Mike Sullivan ultimately will hold all the cards in his hand. Will Gabe Perreault start in the NHL or the AHL? It's up to Mike Sullivan at this point. And I think that he really likes what he's seeing from 94. And he said on whether or not he thinks 94 has to play in the top 6 or if he's comfortable with him in a 3rd or 4th line role. And he also said, I should say, that he's an NHL talent in the making, so do with that with what you will, right? But obviously I think he can play in the NHL, but it's a question of if he can do it consistently. He has so far in the preseason. That is a good sign. Now, I think that Gabe Perreault, to be successful, he can't play on the 4th line. It's done. Straight up done. I'll say it. He has to play probably in the top 6 for this to make sense, or start in Hartford personally, right? But they're playing with the lines a lot right now. We're going to get to that in a second as well. So anything can change before the season starts. He says, I don't think he needs to be a top 6 player. I think it's important that he gets minutes and that he plays, because it's probably in the best interest of his overall development, which in turn would be the best, in interest for the New York Rangers. Whether that takes place in New York or Hartford is yet to be determined. We're really encouraged by his game. He seems to get better with each game that plays. And that's kind of what I'm trying to echo here is, does he have to play in the top 6? I think it would be best for him to play in the top 6 with his skill set. It makes no sense for him to play on the 4th line. He's barely going to be playing. What's he going to do with the 4th liners, right? That you want that 4th line to have a solidified role, and that's something I've been talking about through the summer that the Rangers are finally going to have. So you want to steer away from that, playing on the 4th line. I think it's either top 6 to me, maybe the 3rd line, because Brett Berard right now, I mean, Connor Sheary's playing better. There's a lot up in the air with this team right now. They have Taylor Radish playing with Panarin right now. That is not something I expected. So everything, including the defense pairings, we'll get to that in a second. It's just different. It might look very different than what we were expecting. So going to be really interesting. Does he end up on the 3rd line? I don't know, but he's making a very good case to me to make this team, because a guy like Brennan Othmann is not, and the fan base is catching on to that. And I love Brennan Othmann. I think he still has a very high ceiling, but man, oh man, he's taking a long time to take that next step, and he hasn't looked like a world beater yet in this preseason so far. And a guy like Gabe Perreault is taking this opportunity by storm, really. And I think he's going to make the NHL. Or, I think it's going to come down to the next couple of games. Can he remain consistent in the games that he does play? Are they going to continue to play him in every preseason game? we'll get an answer to those questions very, very soon. And on Gabe Perreault, on which he prioritizes, showcasing what he can do and why he belongs in the NHL, or fitting into Mike Sullivan's system. We all know what you probably have to do to remain successful at the NHL level for your team. Probably fit into the system of your coach. But he said, I think it's definitely a little bit of both. Sully has definitely touched on that. I think we're all here for a reason. We kind of got to showcase that. But on top of the non-negotiables that he said, the puck battles, effort, attitude, all three things that we've seen so far from Gabe Perreault in this preseason. Honestly, I have to say, he's been super impressive. All summer, I've been saying, even if he puts on weight, I just don't know when you look at the depth chart if he's going to be able to make the NHL. The skill is shining through. He's winning puck battles. His attitude is right. I love everything about Gabe Perreault right now. I think he can play in the NHL. And he was taking hits last night. That's something I look for too. Are they shying away from things, just throwing the puck away because they're scared to get hit? He's not. He's taking hits. He's making plays still. So that's something I look at in the preseason as well. It's not the score of the game, because it was a horrendous game. Let's not pretend like losing to the Bruins that way is not a bad way to lose a game. But it's what happens inside these preseason games that I look at, that I think we should all be looking at with a lot of these younger players. So he went on to say all those little things I think I've done a pretty good job of so far, trying to piece those things together and show what I can do, but also those non-negotiables. So it's looking pretty interesting right now. You can see this is kind of what they're playing with right now. Bald Panarin saying things will get interesting if Gabe Perreault bulldozes his way into the lineup like Will Cooley did a couple of years ago. I think, after... I would say that there was a possibility of it happening coming into the preseason. Right now, I'd say it's very likely. He's looking really, really good, and I think most of the fan base likes what they see from Gabe Perreault. And again, look at this lineup. They're experimenting right now with Lafreniere on the left, which he probably should be on the left, with Miller and Mika. That could be a very dangerous line in the regular season. So let's see a little bit more out of that. Panarin, Trocheck, and Perreault is very interesting. Right now, they're also experimenting with Taylor Radish. I saw some line pairings there. They're messing with a lot of stuff. Cooley in the bottom six. I don't like it. All summer I've been saying I want him in the top six, but if it makes sense, it makes sense. Parsonen, to me, this is something I wanted to touch on in this episode too, and let me know how you feel in the comments. Man, I've been saying they signed him for a reason. Maybe he's going to take a step forward. Maybe he can have a season like he did a couple years ago. He's not looking good to me. I think that there could be a very, very real chance at this point. I think a lot of you know where I'm going with this. Noah Laba makes this team as a third line center. I think there's a really, really good possibility. You can see it from NY Louis. Not everyone has the same opinion here, of course, but Scott Morrow looks good. Gabe Perreault in terms of young guys. Brett Berard, of course, we were expecting that. He just had surgery as well, and coming off an injury. Noah Laba, we knew he was going to be good. Jackson Dorrington acquired via trade. And some negatives. I think we all kind of knew that it was going to go this way. I'm a little disappointed in Adam Sikora's development as well. That could be the organization's fault as well. But again, I did want to touch on, right before we wrap up here, Noah Laba. I think there's a real possibility this guy makes the team. We were kind of joking about it last week when training camp opened, where it's like, man, he looks really good. This is something we were kind of joking through the summer. Maybe it does end up happening. I think there's a real possibility now because he is great at certain aspects of the game and he can learn other things. Parsonen he looked a little bit out of position on certain plays yesterday. He's not that explosive. Can he play third line center? Sure, but is he going to make any type of impact? I don't think so. So Noah Laba, to me, man, 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists after 2 preseason games. If you watch the highlights, if you watch the intro video of this video, great in transitional play, unbelievable. He's your driving play. He looks explosive. He's got the skill. I'm excited to see, and Berard Laba together looked really good. So again, that's another interesting dynamic. Does Berard also make the team on the third line? Would you do a kid line of and not the same kid line as a couple years ago, but like Berard, Laba, and maybe Perreault or something like that? I don't know if I would do that. I think you want some sort of checking line still on the team that isn't the fourth line, although they could probably give that to you. And Matt Rempe's taken a step as well as a fourth line player. So it's going to be very interesting. Great in transition. That was the first thing I noticed about Noah Laba. Just so explosive, responsible. He's getting in physically. All of these things, not bailing out of any plays. I think there's a real possibility 2 young guys do make this team, and it's Noah Laba and Gabe Perreault. It's going to be very interesting. Let me know how you feel about that. And lastly, they are still experimenting with the defense pairings. I think it's Gavrikov and Fox, that's for sure. Besides that, under them, they are playing with a bunch of different things. I'm not going to panic yet, But if it is Susie Borgen, I will lose my mind. I will absolutely lose my mind because that was a horrendous pairing when they were in Seattle together, and I do not want to see it on the Rangers because it simply does not work. Vakanainen is an interesting one too because it looks like he's going to be making the team over Scott Morrow, which isn't necessarily surprising. I just thought that Scott Morrow, being the shiny new toy, who's a young offensive defenseman, would automatically make the team. Obviously, it's not that easy, but Vakanainen obviously has the NHL experience. But I don't think Scott Morrow is going anywhere. Like, he's going to be playing a lot of games for the Rangers this year, maybe just not every game, not all 82 games. So that's going to be interesting. Let me know how you feel in the comments about everything that's happening with the Rangers right now. Things are heating up as we head towards the end of the preseason. I want to see more of what Gabe Perreault can do if he can do it consistently. And same with Noah Laba because they've been really impressive, both of them. I think there's a real chance they both make the team. But where does that leave guys like Brendan Othman and Brett Berard? Let me know how you feel in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.